Good day. Today we wanted to show you a traditional fixture called the prismatic fixture that most of the offices and other establishments actually have in their facility. What we're going to do today is to show you why it's actually going to be better to put up an LED TA tube. First of all, what you see here is the prismatic actually have a different lighting. It actually doesn't give you the light that you're looking for because it's being filtered by this cover on top. I want to show you what the TA tube is that looks like inside and how we can actually change this into a LED lighting. First of all, we actually wanted to show you that it has 4 T12 tubes, and T12, as you know, has already been obsoleted in the market. They've also been replaced by what we call a TA tube, which is actually smaller and more efficient than the T12. This is the example of an LED TA tube that we can replace with the regular standard fluorescent lights. As you can see, it's not as bright, and they changed and tend to change colors as years go by. So as a matter of fact, you could see right now that some of the edges are starting to actually turn dark. The regular TA tubes, as well as the T12 tubes, actually are made out of glass, so they could break easily. They also tend to actually have a lot of UV, as well as they're made out of gases and have mercury inside, which is not safe for the environment. Also, as you could hear when you actually, in an office by yourself, you could hear the humming sound. And the humming sound is actually created by the ballast. As you can see, this item actually have 2 ballasts, meaning to say that they actually have more energy that they're actually producing right now to actually lighten up your light. As you can see, they're also hot to the touch, so that it becomes hotter actually as time goes by. So that's one disadvantage of the T12 tubes. All of these lights right now could be producing 20% light and 80% heat. However, if we change it to a TA tube, which is made out LED, you're actually having 80% light and 20% heat. These ballasts actually are the ones that's driving the lights as well as electricity. At least they produce at least 25% more energy, okay, to actually put the lights in. So this is actually a waste of the energy that you have. This is the latest and the greatest right now when it comes to the lighting technology on TA tubes or fluorescent tubes replacement. This is what we call a LED TA tube. And as you can see, they're actually unidirectional. They actually have only in the bottom, and on the top is actually your heat sink. So it directs more light to where you actually needed it, rather than wasting it, where it's not needed. So the other thing too is that LED lights, LED tubes, by the way, are actually shatterproof, let's put it this way, because they are made out of plastic and aluminum. So you can see I can drop it, and it doesn't break at all. It's environmental friendly because you can actually recycle them. One thing good about the TA tube is that the TA tubes are actually they only draw power from one side. As you can see, one thing you could see in this one at the end of the TA tube is that you can see that there's a neutral and a live wire only that you needed to produce the light. At the other end is only a guide. You can see that this is just going to be a guide. And you can see that the driver is actually located on this area. So when you plug it into the fixture, it only goes one direction, and each one of those has to have the power on one side. You could see that, giving an example, when we actually test it, you could see that the light would actually draw just one power by actually plugging this unit in one side, and and I'll plug it in right now. There you go. You could see that I don't have any power on this side, it only comes on one side. And look at how bright this thing is. This is actually what you're going to get. 80% in lighting and 20% in energy. One thing to actually, when you're doing a retrofit on a fixture, you have to consider that TA tubes actually use what they call a non-shunted tombstone. And these are actually the tombstones that we're talking about. You have to replace one of the tombstones, which actually draws power, okay, from the unit, to be non-shunted. And the reason being, you're actually separating the live wire from the neutral. When you look at the tombstones, and if you open a tombstone, you could see the back part of the tombstone, which is non-shunted. It's actually, there are no bars in the middle, in the bottom. So you could see that there's no bar in the bottom. If it is shunted, you could see that there's a bar in the bottom that connects both sides, meaning this is one whole thing. So you could see one is separate, the other one's continuous. If you're using a tester to test them, okay, you can see that if you're using an unshunted, there's no sound. No sound. Okay? While if you're using a shunted, and I will put this in together, you can see that you can hear a buzzing sound of your tester. Now we're ready to actually replace the T12 tubes on this fixture to a LED TA tube. But remember, you have to take out the power first before you actually do any cutting of wires. So let's just unplug this so we can just show you. Now we're going to start our conversion. First of all, let the entire fixture and the lights to cool off first. As you can see, these ones are really hot. The ballast especially is really hot, so be careful with it. Take at least time to actually change them later on and let these things cool off, or you might have a burn in your fingers. The first thing that we're going to do is to take the ballast away, or actually make sure that it's not connected with any power anymore, is to actually get rid of the ballast. You can actually just let it stay here, or you can remove it if you want. So what we're going to do is take out all of the wires out in here and wire nuts and separate them. Separate it right. As soon as we actually take care of the wiring, okay, and get rid, try to get rid of the wiring, we now can take out the tubes from where they're at. Now that we actually have taken the lights out, you can see that, we separated all the wires. You can see that we separated this, we separated all the ones that are coming right to the ballast. You can see that it's now disconnected. We will now disconnect the other ballast. So, for safety purposes, I'm going to cut it right now. So now, there's no power anymore going into the ballast. So that means to say, now the next thing for us to do is to test the tombstones, whether they are actually shunted or non-shunted. Remember, with a tester, if it beeps, okay, that means to say that those are shunted tombstones. However, if we test them and we actually put the probe, and it doesn't beep, that means to say that these are non-shunted and they're ready to actually be and take care of the TA tubes, the LED TA tubes. Now that we have dismantled the entire unit, we tested all of the tombstones to be non-shunted, so we're ready to actually proceed. What we have in here is actually the 4 tombstones that actually were laying in here a while ago to actually power the T12 bulbs, okay, the T12 tubes, okay. As you can see on the reason why we're actually putting this is to make sure that you follow the instructions right, and that if you look at the end of the TA tubes, you can see that there's a live wire and also the neutral. So we are going to do the same thing in here. So on the tombstones, we actually have different colors, and it actually designates, the same thing. You have your live, and you actually have your neutral. So each one of this actually has to be tied up together. So what we're going to do is, for the live, we're going to put the live and the neutral into the neutral side. So let's put it this way. This is actually the live, and this is actually the neutral. So you can take a look at it, okay? So now we're going to combine each wire that's actually live and also combine each one that's actually neutral. The main tombstone, one of the main tombstones would actually have the power that actually goes into the main line. And each one of this actually had, these 2 units actually goes to the main power. The other 2 units that we have in here actually goes to power the rest of the tombstones. So we can combine, let's put it this way, all the neutrals and all the live wires with this wire that's actually attached right now. So remember, one of them goes into the power main source. The other one powers the rest of the tombstones. So we can actually put this thing together as being, neutral or positive. So we can put this thing together, put one line together, okay? And we combine this all together in one, okay? And then the rest, we could actually put the rest on the same thing, so we could power the same thing in here, okay? Now we've done the separation. You could see that after we actually put the wire nuts, each one of them actually have 2 that's what we're putting together right now. You could see that, one is powering the neutral, and the one is powering the live wire. However, you could see here that we're now ready to attach it. So separating them is really important. Just make sure that each one end goes into the right side and the left side. So one end goes to one, and the other one goes on the other side. You could see, to power the tombstones. You could see that each one of them is actually tied up together, but one is actually going on the neutral, and the other colors are going into the live wire. So that's how we actually separate them. Now this unit goes into the power, where actually it's attached in this area. What we did here is that you could see that the tombstones are already in there, but we actually cut them off so that there's really no need for the wires. So we cut them off. Remember, this is just a guide, so we can put the LED TA tube. What the main power actually is on this side. This is where we actually assembled it. And remember, we actually put the assembly here, and you could see that we actually now have the live wire and the neutral, okay, in here. So you could see that we actually attach it to the main power. So this is where it's at right now. So you can take a look at that. The middle portion, as you can see, has already been, okay, you don't need this. So you can actually remove it if you want, or you can just let it stay there, However, you can see that we already have disconnected everything in here so that there's no power coming right into the driver. One thing in order for safety purposes, and we have to determine whether we have power on the tombstone, is to test them. So we could actually put this thing together and you test them one at a time, and you can see that it's actually running at 124 volts. That means to say that we have power, and we could actually test each one of them to make sure that everything is connected together. So that's another power. And another power. And the last one would be another power. So now we have power on all 4s. However, we actually, because the LED lights are actually much brighter than a fluorescent light, okay? You can see that we can only install, we only need 2 of this LED TA tubes compared to a 4. And you can see that when I plug this in later on, you could see the difference. Please remember that when installing, like I have mentioned earlier, the LED TA tubes draws only power on one side. And you can see that there's actually markings in here so that you can actually know what position you're going to put it in. So make sure that on this side, this is where the power is, that this portion of the tube should be in that area. So meaning to say that when you put it in, it should be this way. Now, all of the TA tubes has to be on the same direction by actually using these marks. So everything should be in that position, one area only. Because if you actually have a wrong positioning, the TA tubes will not light up. So if you actually had it inverted this way, this will light up and this won't. So make sure it's actually on one side or just one direction. So we're plugging it in, right? You can see that the lights are actually lighting up right now. You can see instantaneously, in less than 0.5 seconds, the lights are actually on. And you don't need to actually make sure, you actually don't feel any heat at all. You can see that I could actually just touch them with no problems at all. LED lights actually, like I said, has also different types of colors. And you can see we have 2 different types in here. One of them is actually what we call a 4000K or 4000 kelvins. And the other one's a 5000 Kelvin. Depending on your application, these are actually the lights that you have. You can also go all the way down to 3000K if you need so. However, here's one thing that you please have to take care of. Make sure that all the wires are okay before you actually put the hood. And now we're going to put the hood in the middle to make it really nice. So make sure that you actually put the hood. One thing, as a precaution, that we know that now this is an LED fixture because of the LED tubes that we have in here. We actually have to put a sticker that determines that this fixture is for LED only. That means to say that you can't just put a traditional light on it. It's got to be LED from now on. So we're going to put one in there. And make sure that you actually put them in a visible area. So what we're going to do is just put them in the middle so that it determines that, look, this fixture has been modified to actually accept LED tubes only. We now have the final picture in here on how it's actually going to look. And you can see how clean it is. We actually did all the wirings, and it took us maybe 10-15 minutes to actually do this, but you can see how the lights are actually better than the last one that we had. We're going to close this. And there you are, your LED lights on a TA2 version.